Right. Good morning, all. I think you all can hear me, right? Hello. Can you all can hear me? Right. Okay. Thank you, Hansi, for the reply. Let me share my screen with you and start our presentation today. What we are going to talk about. Give me a second. I think they are not enable me to share the screen. All right. Good morning, all. So hope you all can see my screen there, right? I just temporarily switch on my video, and later I can switch off that one, because sometimes when we conducting the lectures with the videos and all, like maybe it's lagging and there are some technical issues are arising. So that's what initially I switch on it, and later I will be switch off that one and switch into the normal mode. So let me introduce myself. First of all, I'm Anuradha, working as a lecturer and researcher, as well as the consultant trainer. So I have working for various institutes across the local and then international context. So then mainly one of my key area, strength area is something like this academic writing research, as well as what the project management, then education related in learning and learning development. So when we go through this one, we'll move to the point where that we are going to discuss today, main session. So it is something called this academic writing. So when we come to the point, it says this academic writing, we already engage with various type of writing. You can't say we don't know anything called this writing and all, like, and we don't know what is called this, the why we supposed to use this writing and all, like, but obviously, right, when we talking about the writing is something that you are going to express certain things. You are going to mainly communicate, or you are going to provide some sort of information to another party, right? And it is a kind of thing that people can use in a persistent way, or maybe like, the visual representation, or kind of utilizing the symbol scripts, or even you can just use in a kind of the recording stuffs to educate, or to inform, or maybe to pass the information to another party. And when it comes to the point of writing, so today, when we talking about this concept called writing, most of the time we are from the academic background, and we have been working with the academic context, and obviously, various content or various situation they are available that we want to work with this writing. But the key point what we are going to discuss today, right, it is academic writing. So why academic writing is important? Or maybe what's the difference between the academic writing and other sort of writings? So is it really essential for our academic work? Is this really essential for our day-to-day academic work? Or maybe when you are fail, or when you are not in a position to communicate to the academic audience as academia, what will be the problem? So there are certain arguments, certain questions, certain points highlighted, and even people are today talking about the importance of this academic writing. So in my session today, mainly I'm going to talk about what is this academic writing style, uh, basically the academic writing, then type of formal and informal words or the phrases that people can be used in the context of academic. Then certain tips are there available when you're writing something, and even certain, this is not actually the rules, there are some best practices are there available. I mean, when you write the academic piece of work, there are certain best practices are there available. And one important point is they are available in the context of academic writing, that is called literature review. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about the literature review, then why it is essential, what type of literature reviews are there available. I mean, people can be use the literature review for various purposes and different contexts. Then we just want to know about now when we come to the point of literature review and all, like, always we have another companion word. Two words are there available. One common thing, right? It is something called plagiarism. There's another one is there available called referencing. So we try to discuss these two also, right? Why people are doing the reference, why plagiarism is matter, and then we will be go through the last part of the session, the citation and the references along with the reference styles, right? So this is the main arrangement of today's session. Throughout this time, I'm going to talk about that part. First, it is academic writing skill. Right. Look at right now. When I'm asking, have you ever involved with academic writing? Right now, remember when you're working on here, chat is open, right? You can pass the message, right? Then chat window is there. If you have any sort of question, you can raise your hand so you can ask the questions, right? Then if it is any sort of a problem or unclear area, right, you can again raise it. You can ask the questions. That's I totally accepted, right? In whatever way, right? Even sometimes you feel it like when I'm asking a question, what happened? When I'm asking a question, what happened to my status, right? Will it be a problem for my journey? Likewise, the kids, you may have so many kind of thinkings, right? when we talking about this, if I'm asking this question, will it be a kind of stupid question? So you try to argue with yourself. No, don't come to that point, right? So if you have a doubt, sometimes that is a common doubt, but you feel that I want to ask it, I want to clarify it. Others also waiting, but they don't have a courage, or maybe they don't have a kind of impression to ask a question. So in that case, on behalf of the others, right? So you also can ask a question, right? So when you ask in a question, so that is the best mechanism to continue your academic journey. Because with a question, for example, if you're coming for the class, the day number 1 with a question or leaving with the question, when you come in for the day number 2 also, you come up with the same question because you're not getting the answer. No? Then in the day number 2 also, on top of it, there will be another questions are there available. I mean, unclear areas are there available. You need a further clarification, but you will be silent. So then when we go to the couple of weeks, you may realize it, there was some area I cannot understand. I cannot recognize it. I cannot face the situation. All sorry, depend on because of our attitude, right? So it doesn't matter. I mean, your assessment, it says how stupid this question, right? Because that is your assessment. I mean, highlight that word, right? So it is your assessment, but don't think about like that, right? Because if you know everything, then there's no problem. But if you don't know everything, that will be again a problem. And if you know something partially, that also kind of problem, right? So that's what every time when you're working on the academic session, when you're working on academic work, a class, or maybe like a tuition, or maybe just like, the lecture, or maybe when you're doing a kind of practical work or whatever, Buddha. So most important thing is you have to ask a question. The other one is when we ask a question, right? Sometimes you will be silent. So the silent represent, I mean, it has multiple ideas. Mainly you can say silent, it represents I know everything. I don't want to ask anything. Yes, I know. The other one is silent, it represents I don't know anything, and then I don't know what to ask. I cannot figure out it what to ask. So then just imagine these two answers are in the two different contexts. I mean, two different ends. You know everything, then no problem. But you don't know anything, that will be a problem, right? So likewise, so when you have a question or when you have an issue or a problem, so you can raise it immediately. You can ask it, right? So don't be afraid, or I mean, don't be shy whether my question is kind of very advanced question. This is very silly question, or this is just very basic level question. No, don't estimate, right? Okay, come back to the session. So what I'm talking about here, right? So that's what initiate all the chat and everything. Every communication mechanism is there available, right? So for you to explore yourself, and end of the day, what I believe it, you have to learn something and leave it, right? You have to earn something and leave it. You want to plant something in yourself and you have to leave it, right? Academic writing. When writing in the context of academic, right? And normally we are not using the words that normally or regularly what we are using, right? For example, now you just want to say, uh, I'm okay with this, but you can't say I'm okay with these findings. So what is mean by that? I am okay with these findings. So it just kind of thing, right? Do you agree with me? Yes, of course, I agree with you. But in the context of academic, you just want to go beyond that and come up with the more practical and more theoretical and even more evidence-based approach. Don't come up with the informal languages, the slangs, then kind of the contractions are there available, some the informal words are there available, right? And slang is a kind of derived version, right? you know English, right? The Sinhala, Tamil, so can be a standard language, right? So you can say the French, right? And there were so many languages are there available, right, in the world. But English, we consider it as an international language. But there are certain words that we locally or we customize it. It's a part of slang, right? Sometimes when you're using, we use it, right? I mean, how do you say like this one? Now, for example, in Sinhala, we are using the word called ekka, right? It says a bus, we use the word called bus ekka, right? But in the formal context, we cannot use like that, right? The formal context, we cannot use like that because the academic style, writing style, definitely criticize that one, right? You have to understand your language, structure of the language very carefully, right? Incomplete sentences or a paragraph definitely mislead your findings, right? And even most of the time, I observe my kids, they addict to the bullets. Bullets are accepted, but the thing is, Smita, everywhere you cannot use the bullets. If you want to highlight certain things, then you can use it, right? If you want to give a kind of special attention for a few points, you can use the bullets, right? Other than that, don't addict for it. Right now, you are now complete you are in the postgraduate level, right? HND or maybe in a diploma level, we guide them. Right? This is not good. And this is not a kind of professional or maybe just like, the standard way. But when we come to this level, right? So you're matured in the context of academic and context of education or context of the postgraduate study area. And the most important thing is most of you all are studying a teaching and education, right? Because teaching and education is the next level, right? It's the next level, right? Why? The reason is there will be a number of followers, right? There will be a number of followers. So if you plant the wrong thing, if you plant the wrong idea, so that will be a matter, that will be a problem, right? Remember, when you work on it, right? So always stick with the right thing, right? Come up with the right thing and apply the right thing, right? So always use that content. So then only, right? Okay, I know something, then I know how to work on it, and how I'm going to present certain things. And even I previously told a few minutes ago, the bullets and the numbers can be used, but don't addict. It is acceptable. It's totally acceptable, but the thing is, don't addict for it, right? So if you go to the entire document, thesis, or a report with a bulleted list and online, so that will be a kind of unprofessional. But your findings are very, very important. invaluable things, right? And even when you write in the academic context, ideas kind of write in a favored in your subject area, right? How to come up with the content which is favored for your subject area, right? Remember always, right? When I'm telling something, sometimes people they don't. That is a natural habit, right? It's a kind of tendency of human beings. So we don't like to accept it. We have a question. How do you say like that? Why are you telling like that? So I'm going to express something which is my favor, comes under the my favoration. But the thing is, I want to convince my audience, even though I am presenting this one, but right, X all like this one, Y all like this one, ABC all like this. This journal told something. This institute told something. This conference told something. So then only Puta, people will accept certain thing with the confidence, and that will be reflect your maturity, right? Even when you just go through this one, right, you have to read a lot of things. Read it. When you're not reading, you're not going to develop a kind of answers. Why? The limit with kind of, your vocabulary is limit. Your wordings are limit. Your ideas are very poor, right? But when you are reading, when you are referring the external sources and all, like, you are getting the rich ideas, right? You are getting the rich pictures, right? And even you are just trying to convey something with a more confidence. And in the academic writing style, you will find your ability to write something effective academic style, right? And when you go through the academic context, most of the time people they believe it, okay, this person, what he or she is trying to tell, this person trying to communicate, right? And what is the take home message? So likewise, there are several things are there available that you have to consider, right? And remember, when it comes to the academic writing, it is formal and it's impersonal and objective. Right? When you're talking about academic writing, we call it as a cautious or it is tentative and reference to the other writer's work. I repeat the same thing, right? Several times. So this is something formal, right? This is something formal. Why this is formal, right? Now we are working on the academic context, right? So the people are expect something from you, expecting something from, right? And when you just come up with, right, something, your personal beliefs and online, and your personal impressions and online, sometimes we are not in a position to express certain things, right? I mean, I just believe something. I just telling something, right? And I'm going to express certain things. That's only. So that's what, when you just think about the academic writing, we have to understand, right? It should be a formal. That is the number one. And impersonal, and we call it as objective. So there will be something called objective nature and the subjective nature, right? Now, I believe something, I feel something. That is subjective, personal feeling, impersonal thing, right? You know, now, classic example, right? So there is a water, right? And I feel this is too hot, right? That hot is the word which I use compared to myself. Now, sometimes you consume the hot water. So when you think about the kid's point of view, sometimes the definition what we call hot and we can consume, that we cannot apply for a small kid, because he is not a matured guy. He doesn't know how to tolerate, balance the situation, right? Even we can manage it. Sometimes, if you given that kind of hot water for that person, that skill, that will be end up with a kind of disaster, right? But look at the objective nature, right? It is something like a information based, factual evidences, and it is free from the personal bias or emotion. The water is, right, 100 Celsius, right? That is objective term. The water is too hot. It is a subjective, right? So you define, this is called hot parameter, and this is too much. This is called hot. This is too much. This is extreme. That is subjective. So always remember, academic are impersonal and we call it as a objective, right? If you just tell something, right, based on your feeling, based on your, no any sort of evidences and all that, right? So that is something personal. So this is impersonal and objective. So when you write something, you account for it. You're accountable for it. So then when someone question it, you just want to defend it. You can't say, yeah, yes, yeah, I just mentioned it. I think it is correct. No. So that totally ruin your work. Why? When someone asks, no, yeah, actually, when you ask him this question, let me explain like this one. I have come up with the strong the background, and this is not only in Sri Lanka but also in the other countries like Europe and all, like, yeah. So then they also conduct this type of study. Then based on their evidences, they experience this type of things, right? So these so and so articles are they available, right? Okay. Then when I conduct my academic work or my coursework also, I experience a similar type of thing. So therefore, I believe it, I strongly believe it, or I recommend, I suggest this can be applied for my context also. Right? The two examples, right? If someone is asking, how do you say like that? Yeah, I think that I repeat it, right? I think, yeah, it is something like, that I believe it, I feel it like that, and I think this is correct, that you can accept it. That is the first scenario. Second one is, how do you say like that? Yeah, let me explain like this way. When I go through with different contexts, I experience not only Sri Lanka but also in the other countries, especially the local context as well as what the international context. And I have gone through some the documents, evidences, books, and references and online. So then I realize it. This is what they found, and this is what they highlighted. And of course, and obviously, my scenario also similar like that one, and I can no doubt apply this one. With these two scenarios, you may realize its second one is more confidence, right? Because why? Evidence based, right? Is personal and objective is there available, not the subjective nature. I believe it. I feel it is correct. That is subjective nature, right? You can't defend yourself. I feel it like that, and then how do we say like no? Come up with the more valid and more acceptable point, and it is something called subject to modified, tentative, right? Cautious and tentative. Now, when you're working on it, you believe it, right? It is something, right? You just work on it, action oriented work, rather than just not telling something, right? So you just carefully examine certain things and come up with something, right? So this is something called action oriented, cautious, and you just believe something, not the concrete, right? The academic work is not a kind of concrete thing, right? If I bring the simple example, roughly around 1 decade ago, right? Maybe somewhere around, no, 1.5 decade ago, roughly, somewhere around 2010, when people are talking about the touch devices, touch enabled devices, right? The tabs and, the smartphones and all, like. Uh, but just imagine those days, the typical button phones and typical button related devices are there available. And that was the concrete definition those days. That is wrong, right? Because the thing is, when the technology moves, when the technology drive to the next step, so a lot of things going to be changing. So if you go to the 2005 and study a popular mobile phones, and if you come to the 2010 and study the mobile phone, if you come to the 2020 and study the mobile phones, there are significant changes, right? 2004-5, or maybe around that area, the half screen, half keyboard, physical keyboard. So then in 2007 to 2010, the number of keys are dropped, right? So you can find out maybe few keys. Full screen, large screens are there. Today, what you experience it, 2020 onwards, or maybe 2015, 18, then you may realize it. There are phones, no physical button on the front screen, right? So that's the way how it is changed. So if you come up with something like a concrete definition those days, no, this is the something called mobile phone, and stick with that one, that is wrong. Academic context is the same thing. You have to accept the changes. You are willing to accept the changes. And if you are resist to accept the changes, right, you know what will be happen, right? So if anyone is interested, reluctant to change, what will be the result? What was the result? You just read the story of Nokia or Kodak, right? Just read the story of Nokia and Kodak. Then you realize it. If you are resist to adapt the changes, if you are reject to adapt the changes, what will be the result? So during your leisure time, you just go through it and read it. What happened to these technical giants, the giant companies, was in the world. And when you write in the academic context, remember, Buddha, you reference to other writers' work. Rather than you are putting the massive effort to plant something and convince your audience to say that accept my word. So this is very easy. You can just go through with some other people's work and say they also told like that one. My similar context, they are also there available, and therefore I believe it. This also in the same way, because these evidences are proven. When you go to the academic work and research, you will be getting more information on that. Now look at this formal versus informal word or phrases that can be used. Normally we say try to find out. In the academic context, we use the word called investigate. Right? You are going to, you are carry out the research. I'm conducting the research. I try to find out something. I investigate and found. I try to find out. But in the formal context, we use I investigated and found. With that word itself, that it has a kind of weight, right? That it has a kind of power, word in power is there available. You force or you convince your audience to please accept it. Because why? I'm using more formal and kind of commanding words, right? So I carry out the research, I conduct the research, right? Just look at carefully. No, I examined something and found it. Right? So it says make sure it or true. It says verification. I verified something. Instead of the get rid of or showing, we just say it shows something, it demonstrates something. I investigate something, my research demonstrated something like that. Right? And when I go through my study, right? When I conduct my study, I examine something and realize this has been eliminated. Get rid of it. Informal, eliminate a formal, right? Okay. So do you have any sort of a doubts or unclear thing so far? Anything you want to raise? Anything to you want to ask? Because I believe that your feedback is most important thing.
Namaste.
Right. I'll be back into the session. Right. Good. Thank you for your feedback. So we'll move to the point and proceed it. Right. So that's what normally I just believe it. So if you have a doubt or something, right, I'm active and then I need that kind of active participation from you also, right? So chat or whatever way expressions, right? It's all about communication, right? Okay, Buddha. So we'll move to the point. The academic writing style tips. So you just want to come up with very clear, precious information in highly summarized way. Don't put any sort of gossips or unwanted thing because there's no way to put that. Because now academic, we were expecting something clear. They're expecting something straightforward. So I don't worry about. People they put some gossips and all that because I don't want. It wastes my time. Say exactly what you mean, right? Say exactly what you mean and what you want to express. So exactly you have to mention that. And the thing is, I have observed several times, and that's what I will be linked with the other. Previously, I commented something, the bulleted points. So then, because of that bulleted and numbers, most of the time, Putha, I observe it with my career. Most of the time, kids they come up with the incomplete sentences because they addict to that bulleted form, the bulleted point. And when they try to write the paras, even they turn up with something like the incomplete sentences, right? So it says like this one: when I go through the further studied, or when I study some research papers which has been published by IEEE, which has been published by International Journal, and I realize it. Sometimes when they write the sentence, it is incomplete, right? I realize it, right? What it realize, right? Now start is really good. when i when the researcher go through the previous study, right, research papers, journals, etc., and it realize, it reflect, then first what it reflect. Now we just want to think about, we have to link, it reflect that. But in the beginning, somewhere he or she may be highlighted, this is what my objective and all like that. So at least you have to come up with, this will be aligned with, this was aligned with my objective. This was aligned with my academic objective. This was the findings. At least come up with, right? Then only you can see a kind of completeness. And remember, it is a paragraph. Don't now. Sometimes I experience it with the, maybe a paragraph is 2 3 pages, right? One paragraph spanning for 2 3 pages, right? So then I was asking, okay, why you have put that one? I didn't notice it. That's a very common answer. I didn't notice, sir. I didn't notice it. What is it? Right? So that's why. Now, when you write in something, your intention is most important. Right? Your intention is most important. Right? Your focus is most important. Remember, end of the day, you have to be responsible. You are the responsible for each and every single word in the academic document. Right? That's we experience in the presentations. We will be go through with the document and we'll go through with the presentation. Presentation is something, the documentation is something. So when we ask okay, question based on the documentation and refer to the presentation, they were exciting. Where I see like that, then they were struggling. No, right? So you are responsible for each and every piece of work, word, even single dot, which is mentioned in your document. Right, so that's why don't think about right, okay, I'm compiling this document and somewhere the findings are there available, let my readers to read it and understand it. No, I don't have a time as a reader. Sometimes you don't have a time as a reader to go through here and there and then find out the points and link it. It's your responsible. Right, so normally it says do not extend the paragraph length more than a one full page. Right, if it is a mandatory situation, then you can go through it, right? For example, later we discuss it. Certain points are there available. Same way, in the exact way, you have to put that one, right? Under the direct quotations. Other than that, right? Don't stick with it, right? So if you want to tell something, remember very short and focus, more clear, and you know, right, where to put it. So that's what some important writing, academic writing style tips. Further, right? So it says avoid the first person. Use a sentence variety and very rare use of hypothetical question, right? I mean, question without, right? So that is normally weaken the writing. I mean, it weaken your voice as a writer, right? Avoid the first person, right? I studied, we studied. I frequently experience in most of the researchers. It says we found something, and I'm asking my questions. Who won? I mean, you and who else, right? I mean, if it is a we, there will be multiple people, at least two, right? More than one, there will be there available, right? So we found something. What is we? It's an individual piece of work. It's an individual piece of assignment, but we found something, right? Our findings, who are they, right? So that they are going to, I mean, they are not considering seriously, right? So that's what, during this type of sessions, we have to discuss our weaknesses, right? During this type of sessions, we have to discuss our weaknesses, and this we just want to know about how overcome them, right? And sentence varieties, I'll show you, right? Most of the time, this also a kind of weakness, right? Actually, this is not a weakness. I feel it is just like a negligence, right? Most of the time, kids, they are neglect, right? They neglect something, right? Sentence, the same sentence pattern, right? When you go through it, we realize it, the sentence are same sentence pattern, right? If one is talking about I found something, then I found this part, right? Very typical example, references, right? You know, when you're working on the reference, most of the time, I believe it, right? Or I experience it, they have put the name and the year of a publication, right? Author of the publication, the author and the year of publication and end of the paragraph as a bracket or within bracket. So if you go through the entire literature review chapter, we can find out same thing. Paragraph, name, and year. Paragraph, name, and year. Paragraph, name, and year. So it is very boring, monotonous, right? But why you can't apply the different strategies, different mechanisms? We'll discuss later on. I'll show you with the typical example, right? There are so many methods they are available, varieties, right? Because we human, we expect something dynamic nature, right? Now, if you see in the same thing each and every day, right, you feel it is really boring. Even there's no kind of significant difference that you notice it. Because why? You feel it's like a very common, right? Same thing, again and again, the same thing, right? So that we feel it is just like a normal thing, right? Even if you try to present something in a different way, also after having the same pattern, no varieties, the people still believe it. This is same like that. It is hypothetical questions. Hypotheses are important when you develop your research, but when you come to the conclusion in the context of academic writing, don't come up with like that. Right? You have to strictly mention something. You have to stick with something. Right? In the beginning, there are so many hypotheses. Hypothetical statements are there available. Questions are there available. Right? I mean, we assume something, but in the tail context of academic, you can't say like that. Because when you matured with the academic work, it's stuck with something and you will found something very valuable, and it is like a static, right? Because if you just using this type of the hypothetical words or the questions, right? Now, let's say in the beginning of the day, you can say it will be rain. It will be a rain. It won't be a rain. But after the end of the day, you can't say it will be rain, it won't be rain. There wasn't any rain, right? Because it is past. Now it has gone. You experience it. Don't come up with that hypothetical statements in the academic writing, especially when you're publishing something, right? Right. I'll be moved to the point. It says literature. Right. So I have a small question. The chat is open. What is literature review? Anyone? Any idea? What is called literature review? Right. This what is literature review? Yes, but what is literature review? It doesn't matter your answer is correct or wrong or whatever. I need a kind of, this is called literature.
It is existing research on a specific topic or something.
Yeah, it is something that you refer existing research or academic work, and you use that part maybe directly or indirectly to your work. That is literature review. Okay, right. What else? Yes, others. Yes, what is literature review? Yes, others. Right, good. Right. So I'll pause something here. Literature review, very simple idea, right? A literature review is a search and evaluation of the available literature in a I mean, in your given subject or chosen topic area, that document the state of the art with respect to the subject or topic that you are writing about, right? If someone is asking what is literature review, right? So you may have various answers. I respect them. And even I'm really interested, right? Your ideas also, right? Reviewing the literature. Existing word, right? You're supposed to go to the existing works. And when you go through the existing work, most of the time, Puta, the wrong impression, wrong idea, it was planned. Literature review is copy and paste some content from previous documents or previous researchers, right? So that is the number one myth. That is the number one myth, right? I mean, literature review is not copy and paste. Literature review, can't say it is just a copy and paste. Then it has more, right, idea, right? Or it has more value than just copy and paste, right? If you just copy and paste it, that is not literature review. Where's the review part? Literature is okay. Existing sources are there available, right? You try to analyze something, summarize something, then you have to come up with the evaluation, right, of a topic or findings in a previous or existing published research work. It may be a book, it may be an internet source, it may be a conference proceeding, maybe a simple journal article, whatever, right? So we have to come up with that. We have to come up with that idea, right? This is not just copying and pasting, and it has a more precious, right? Something that you are, right, that you want to highlight it, right? Let's say the literature review has a four main objectives, right? So you go through the literature review, right? So most of the time, I ask my kids, right? So literature review has four main objectives. So when you're working on it, you have to understand this one, right? It has a four main objectives. Look at the highlighted word. Survey, synthesizes, critically analyze it, and present it. Survey is nothing, right? What is it? It is just searching something. Survey is nothing. That is just searching, right? But other important things they are available that you really understand it. Most of the time, we miss this one, right? We just search something, but most of the time, what we experience it, survey and present it. You just search it, then you will be find something, then you are presenting. So that's what that synthesizes and critical analysis gap fill with the copy and paste. No, this is more precious than that. Literature review is more precious than that. Why? So you have to understand. So this is something different where the people want to focus more. Survey the literature in a chosen area of study. So most of the time, I experience it with my kids when I'm asked them to come up with the research question, when I'm asked them to come up with the academic piece of work, when I'm asked them to come up with the answer, right, for a particular question which I discuss or which I share in my class, in my lectures, right, most of the time I experience it, right? So they are struggling to build up the answer right now. During our past, actually, we were struggling, right? We have lectures. Then after the lectures or in between the two lectures, just like, the small break is there available, like, the kind of tea break or something, maybe around 20 minutes to half an hour maximum. Sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes it doesn't have tea, right? The 2, 3 hour lectures. Then during that time period, we have to visit to the library, and then from that time itself, we just want to find out the book or journal or maybe thesis. Right? Talking about the way how we studied. But today, everything is the distance of fingertips. Right? This is not a big fuss. Right? So we come up with certain things, right? And you have a lot of resources. So more simplified options are there available, right? If you go to the search engine, you can find out a lot of things. But we are not exploring, or we are not just go to that level and find out some, right? If I have another session, I will practically demonstrate it how Hello, Puta. You all there, right? Yes, I lost my internet connection and due to the sudden power cut. Let me again go through the area where we have stopped, right? Hello, Putta. I tried to connect several times to claim the host, but unfortunately I couldn't do that one. So therefore, I will inform Irosha and others to go through with the remaining part in another time. Because the thing is that I tried several times to claim my host, but unfortunately there's no option is there available to get that one because the host is not available, I guess, at the moment. So therefore, I try to get back the host option, but unfortunately, it's not they are available. So I will inform them to reschedule it, right? So let me wind up the session. I will ask Shah to give another time, so then I can just go through with the remaining part regarding with the literature review and other important things, right? Right, Putta. So I'll inform the next time where we can start the session, right? Okay, so y'all welcome and we'll meet on other time and discuss our remaining part, right?